so many. Hello and welcome to Salford Now. I'm Rin Monk.
And I'm Sam Oliphant. It's 3:30 and this is the news of the day. The Salford Domestic Abuse and Refugee Services have supported victims for the last 40 years. However, Salford Council is set to strip the organisation of its funding.
The trees at Salford Quays have been cut down. This is to open up the view for the Water Garden restaurant complex and a community garden.
Salford City Council are offering £4 million in funding for a renovation of Chapel Street in an attempt to increase walking and bike usage as opposed to driving in the area.
The city of Salford will be on red warning alert as of tomorrow. Storm Eunice arrives not long after Storm Dudley left a trail of debris and chaos through the city.
The University of Salford's newly formed Asian Society played their first football game against Manchester Metropolitan and the University of Manchester's combined Asian Societies on Tuesday.
Salford City Council has decided to cut their funding to the Domestic Abuse Service in Salford. Last night, some councillors and the organisation united at Salford's Women's Centre to discuss campaigns to save their funding. Our reporter Georgie Hepston has more.
For victims of domestic abuse, getting help quickly can be a matter of life or death. For those victims in Salford, that vital help is at risk. A funding application process means money will be taken away from the Salford Domestic Abuse Service.
Needs access to the service, you would have to go to the edge of town where Salford Foundation is, or they'd have to go to Trafford or Manchester. That's not an accessible service.
Vicky is one of the workers who you'd hear at the other end of the line, who is worried about what these cuts will lead to.
We had one woman who had to get on the bus to go and use another service. She was dragged off the bus by her ex-partner and beaten up.
On April 1st, victims of Salford will face the loss of the specialist domestic abuse service in Salford, which has been running for 40 years, SIDAS.
Here in Salford, who people rely on every day, and they've transformed the lives of so many people across Salford over the years. So it's important for, I think, everybody that's involved at the council to really have a think about this and rethink what can be done to ensure that Salford Women's Aid can play a huge part in delivering those services.
Under the new plan, services like this would be provided by the council, but domestic abuse campaigners are worried that the future of their refuges will ultimately impact victims.
I actually lived with my children in one of the women's refuges, in the late 90s, and Dawn Redshaw, the CEO of Salford Women's Aid, was actually my worker back then, and I just wanted to find out, first of all, you know, what's happening to the jobs of these IDVAs, why the funding has been taken out of Salford, and who is going to support Salford Women's Aid to continue the work that they do.
Victims will continue to campaign till questions are answered. Georgina Hepson, Salford Now.
Salford City Council have begun work removing 50% of the trees at Salford Quays. Over the past week, many residents of the area have raised their concerns about their plans. Reporter Liz Thieker went to find out more.
Chapel Street in Salford will soon be part of a...
Cutting trees down to improve the view? Well, this is exactly what's happening here at Salford Quays. The tree felling is taking place to clear the view for a new water garden restaurant. However, can you call it a garden with less greenery?
There was a huge concern raised by residents that because these trees have been here more than 30 years, and they are really beautiful during the spring and summertime. They are very sad to see them go, and but permission was granted by Salford City Council. We wanted Salford City Council to be on residents' side and do whatever they can to protect the environment here.
A main concern for many people here at the Quays is the disruption it may cause to wildlife, especially birds. Every year flocks of birds come to the Quays to nest, and as nesting season approaches between March and August, many are worried that wildlife may not return afterwards.
Appalling that the work seems to be being done during the nesting period, going to undermine Salford's attempts to promote a green city and to nurture wildlife.
Wildlife charities share the concern of residents, but they say there is more to the council's plan than just removing trees for business.
The thing is, a lot of people see removing trees as kind of a horrible, a terrible thing. Some of the trees, or certainly most of the trees that are being removed at the moment for a good reason, in that they are diseased. Some of them diseased, and they just haven't, they kind of reached the limit of where they're growing. You've got to take a bit of short-term pain to actually get the longer-term vision. But if they're creating these really, really nice community areas where things are going to grow, and insects are going to come into the wonderful plants that they're going to plant there, and then birds will nest there. And birds, it doesn't take wildlife long to get used to something. If a tree's planted and it's suitable to nesting, they'll be back in a couple of years.
The council has promised to replant some of the trees. They hope that the wildlife of the Quays takes root and flowers in years to come. Liz Thieker, Salford Now.
Chapel Street in Salford is getting a revamp as it's set to get £4 million to improve the cycle and walk lanes. Lead member for Planning and Sustainable Development Mick McCusker spoke to our reporter Luke Johnson.
Chapel Street in Salford will soon be part of a new £4 million scheme to improve cycling and walking in Salford. Mike McCusker, the lead member for Planning and Sustainable Development, explained how far this development will go.
This is part of a much wider development around revolutionising travel on foot and bike throughout Salford. There's a Greater Manchester-wide ambition of a network of more than 1,000 miles, including 75 miles of Dutch-style segregated bike lanes. It will be the largest joined-up system for walking and cycling routes in the UK once we've completed it.
He said the e-scooter trials was a stepping stone for the scheme.
With the e-scooter trial that we've been doing across Salford, they've been very successful. This is about building on that, not only to create a segregated cycle lane, but it's also about improving the street scene, if you like, to encourage people to walk more. So there's going to be lots of things like additional trees, sustainable urban drainage, which helps prevent flooding when we get torrential rains, new paving, better crossings.
Recently, bee-bikes have been placed around Salford.
They've done about 40,000 kilometres since they've been introduced. So the pilot with us and another borough, Manchester, I've been on one, so that's a success in itself. I haven't been on a bike in 40 years.
With transport being important for many in Salford, will the scheme encourage people in the future? Luke Johnson, Chapel Street.
With plenty of sport coming up this weekend, our sports editor Ali Hussein is here to tell us more.
Yeah, thank you. Salford Red Devils play on Sunday at home against Toulouse Olympique after their season got off to a brilliant start against Castleford Tigers last weekend. Salford City play Crawley Town at home, looking to build on their win last weekend against Leyton Orient.
Storm Dudley's Path is still seen in some parts of Salford. Horseman Street is one of them, as the sidewall of a house fell on top of a car parked next to it. It happened on Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Thankfully, no one was harmed. Our reporter Liam O'Donnell went to talk to the local residents.
A stormy and windy night ended in chaos and confusion for residents in Seedley and Salford. Storm Dudley made itself known to this car parked on the corner of Horsham Street as bricks from a neighbouring house rained onto it.
I heard a huge bang. It's about 6:30. I was in the kitchen and I thought probably my son's fish tank had collapsed upstairs. So I came dashing out to see what had happened, and there was nothing in the house, and looked outside and there was everyone at their front door.
I think whatever it was, there must have been some kind of a explosion next thing, everything, and that caused the trouble. Where else could it be? Only an explosion or something.
As of yet, it's unclear as to why this happened, but thankfully no one was hurt.
We couldn't see in the darkness that it was the top of the house that had fallen, but there were bricks everywhere, right across to the pavement on this side of the street.
Yeah. But me and the dog, I just walking. I took the dog for the last walk at night. That time, I was just taking her back home. But the good job we weren't out. We'd have got hit with all the stones coming down there.
I was really lucky nobody was underneath it, because it would have killed them if they had been walking through that. God knows what the people inside must be thinking. I think the pigeons probably think there are good new places to roost up there.
The Met Office has issued an amber warning across the whole of England and suggested that power cuts and transport delays should be expected as the weeks carry on. Storm Eunice is scheduled to arrive over the weekend, and the Met Office warn it's far more dangerous than Dudley. Liam O'Donnell, Salford Now.
Now with the weather, our reporter Liz Thieker is back. Tell us more about what to expect this weekend, Liz.
Hi guys, so after Storm Dudley has just left us, we have Storm Eunice. This weekend you can expect high winds up to 31 miles per hour, scattered showers and sun. Well, less sun. Anyway, back to you in the studio, guys.
I've been Sam Oliphant.
And I've been Rin Monk, and thank you for watching. Make us to visit at Salford Now for more updates.